It's probably the level of experience within the group. We've got some really good people within the network, and I think it's also their willingness to engage. Now, can you work with everyone? Of course you can. Can everyone work with me? Of course they can. So personalities come into it as well. But there's often multiple options in terms of people who've got similar experience that you can actually tap into. So that's actually been one of the key things for me, is that level of experience. And also what comes with that is their networks. We've all got great networks. So if the answer isn't, if you don't have the answer, we'll probably find somebody who has got the answer. That's an invaluable resource. After 19 years of consulting, and I've actually been, reasonably successful. I've had associates, and I do like working with really clever people, because that makes my job easier. But one of the reasons I joined the NCP was I was very careful before I made my decision. I actually interviewed or went and met quite a few of the people involved, and the conversation wasn't about tell me what you do. It was about tell me about you. I want to hear about your journey. What have you done in your life? Tell me about your work life and other things. And we ended up in these great conversations. That's where I start to tap into what are the capabilities, what's the resilience like in this group, what's the experience like. That's the thing that attracted me to the NCP. And I have been in other networks before, but that's the thing that really stands out, the level of experience and networks. You meet lots of consultants and it's all about the money. In the NCP, I'm not sure it's about that. I actually think it's more about wanting to help businesses and help individuals and families in businesses succeed. I mentioned before that you got to meet people where they're at. So I had a client, and clearly they had some gaps in their finance capabilities. So they had a team there that really probably didn't know what good looked like, and that wasn't their fault. It's a business that's grown dramatically over a number of years. So we talked about different options, and what I did was I said, look, how about I'll introduce you to one of the guys in the NCP, and I talked to him about this concept of a virtual CFO. So the primary thing was I said, look, let's not judge whether you need it or not at this stage. Let's just meet this guy. So we had a meeting and it went really well, and then he put a proposal together, and actually they are now have put in new systems for them, are really lifting their game in terms of the reporting, getting on top of their cash flow, doing forecasting, and really now putting in the hands of the owner the tools that they need to be able to forecast and really be in control of their business and actually scale the business even further. So that's a great example. Now, arguably I could have done some of that. Actually, I couldn't have done it because I'm not interested in that piece of work. But what was great is it actually complemented the work that I was doing as well. And then we were doing a strategic planning session as well, a workshop over 2 days, and the VCFO came along to that, and that was just fantastic to have, because he's got a level of trust now in the organization, but he was actually able to bring some different insights and perspectives into that team, which effectively lifted the gene pool in that team, which is actually really important, because often in privately held businesses, the gene pool is what you've got. In corporate, the gene pool changes all the time. For good or for bad, it does change all the time. That's part of their strategy. So for me, that was a great outcome, and it meant it also enhances the value proposition that I can bring to that client. So an example within the NCP, I've got a client that's actually grown quite dramatically now. It's a business that would be north of $100 million in turnover. And what I've seen that business do over about 7 years has been quite dramatic, but with the same team. And therein lies the challenge, because you have what I call a limited gene pool that's limited to that 7 years, and also with other people joining. But often the leaders are the people who took the organization to that level. So we had this organization, they've got some really great systems and processes, and in fact within the industry it's recognized that they have, and they needed to scale those systems and do a fundamental, let's say, renovation or rejuvenation of those systems, and moving it to digital. So what I was working with them on that project, I quickly recognized, and this is the beauty of the NCP, I recognized there was a problem, but I didn't limit, I guess, dealing with that problem or addressing that problem based on my knowledge. So I said to them, let me think about this. I think you need somebody who's actually really a CIO, who's actually got a lot of experience in this area, who can give you some objective advice. So I found one of the guys within the NCP, and what we did was we went and we had meetings with them, and we basically took them through a process which was really a series of discussions exploring where do they want to be, how should they get there, and what are the gaps. And from that we gave them some advice. Now whether they accepted the advice or not is up for debate, but it actually really helped them get clarity. And for me, I was really pleased because the client had gaps in their thinking which we addressed, and then they were able to make an informed decision. And at the end of the day, that reinforces my role in working with them as a trusted advisor from a number of aspects. And one aspect being that I will always say to clients, if I don't have all the answers, you don't have all the answers, but let's start by working out what needs to happen, and then we'll figure out if we need to get additional resources, we can work on that. And that's one of the beauties of the NCP, having people within the network that you trust and that you know, and there's an accountability around we need to do good work together. I think you need to be clear on what you're looking for. I would also, for me, the network is about the people in the network. Before you join, I would go and talk to lots of people. And even if you've never been, if you've never been a consultant before, go and talk to them about what's it like to be a consultant. One of the biggest challenges when you're starting consulting is finding your first client. And a lot of people live under this illusion that consultants, a bit like our view of salespeople, they swan around, they have coffees and they have lunch every day and the money just rolls in. It's a really tough gig. So people, I think if you're thinking of being a consultant, go and talk to the NCP. I think it's a great way of getting into consulting, but I would urge them to explore and think about a day in the life of a consultant or a week in the life. And you'll actually find there's people in the network that will be able to help you with that and can help you on that journey. So I think that's really important, thinking about what is the value you want to glean from being a member, and talk to the members and take your time about that. I think that's really important. And by all means, go and talk to other networks. I mean, I've seen quite a few other networks, and I think this one's quite unique.